Hey, and welcome back to Love Restored. This is another episode. I'm your favorite host, Mashaun, Olaniyan, and you are listening to and or watching KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes Radio. Welcome back to another episode. For this next 30 minutes, we are going to be talking about the second thing that you should be doing before you enter into or re-enter into the dating scene for a Black woman over 40. Now, if you were with me last week, then you know that we talked about rebuilding your confidence and how to do that, why it's important to do that. And today we're going to jump into episode 2, which is all about you evaluating your emotional availability. A lot of people jump into relationships because they want them. They like the idea of them. But when it comes time for them to be vulnerable, for them to open up fully to their potential spouse, that's when that wall that they put up shows up. The wall shows up that you didn't put up because when you were not dating, and many of us can raise our hand because many of us have been there. Many of us have done this, including myself. I'm past the stage, but I definitely have been there and done that. What am I talking about? I get it. I am talking about not doing your internal work, not focusing on what went wrong, not turning what went wrong into a lesson that you have now learned so you don't do these things again. Getting rid of the emotional baggage so when your man does show up, you can actually attach to him. But before I go too deep into today's topic, because you see I'm excited, Love Restored. I decided to start Love Restore because just like many of you out there, I did not get the tips, tools, strategies, or any sit-down conversations from my parents when I was younger. I actually had an attitude, y'all. Okay, I had an attitude with my parents and I had to get rid of it after having a discussion with them. But I had an attitude with them because I felt like I should have never gotten a divorce. Let's be real. I grew up around people, my parents. Now, my dad is my stepdad, but he has been in my life since as long as I can remember, honestly, maybe since I was 6. I'm 47. So let's say he's been in my life for 41 years, 40 plus years he's been in my life. I know my biological, but he really didn't show up as a parent. That's a different story. So my parents that I know, they were together. They didn't get married until I was 12, so roughly 6 years after. They had a lot of drama going on, but they got this stuff together and they got married. And they was also trying to keep it a secret for whatever reasons that they had. I'm gonna move past them. The point is, because I saw healthy relationships, my mom blocked us from any toxicity entering into our life, including but not limited to those things that we don't talk about in our community, which is molestation and rape and all that stuff that happens at the hand of the uncle, or let's be real, the auntie or the family friend. She shielded us from a lot of that stuff. So I was really, for the majority of my life and throughout my childhood for sure, I was only exposed to positivity, to what looks good in a relationship. Like I remember, and I really love this about my parents, how they used to sit on the couch together. Now I'm saying used to because I don't know if they do it because I'm no longer in their household. But anyway, when they used to just sit on the couch and just hold hands while watching television. They were that into one another. And so that's what I was accustomed to. All of the drama, it just wasn't available to me. Then I would hang out with my cousins. We would always have parties and stuff, and everybody had a lot of kids. So I had a lot of first cousins growing up, and we was always around each other. I got to see them, my aunts, in their relationships because my grandmother only had girls. So all the uncles were into the family. There were also some aunties that were not married, but because they were in long-term relationships, I didn't know that they weren't married. All of that is to say, I saw a lot of healthy, or what I deemed to be healthy relationships. And because my mom didn't, by this time, she had learned not to bring the drama to her household. I, being one of the youngest children from her, did not get exposed to a lot of the toxicity that I heard from my older siblings that she was a part of. Like, she should listen. I ain't gonna throw my mom under the bus. All I'm saying that I was mad. Let me get back to the subject at hand. I was mad at my mom. I was mad at my dad. And when I wrote my first book, I gave them a copy. I don't have it here in front of me, but when I wrote my first book, I gave them a copy and they read the book and they were telling me how they really enjoyed the book. The book was good, but they also was honoring me because in the book I actually said that I was upset with them until I had a conversation, and they were like, we could not pass down what we didn't know, what we didn't have. When we were together, we were still trying to figure out all of these things. And that kind of put I simmered down. I was no longer upset, but I still was like, I feel like you could have taught me something instead of just not talking about anything. So that's the gist of why I decided to start Love Restore and some of my background and why I had a rose colored glasses for people only wanting relationships. Because when I got out into the world and I actually started dating, because dating was not a part of my household as well. Couldn't date inside the house as a teenager like most people get that experience. I didn't really have that experience, although I was sneaking, but it being outright, being praised, being something that you are quote unquote allowed to do was not something that I was able to partake in openly. And so because I wasn't able to have conversations, or I felt like I couldn't go to have conversations with my mom specifically, but my parents, and dating was a no-no, and sex was hardly ever mentioned. So it was a lot of things that I bust my head on when I entered into the real world and had to figure all these things out. I, as I mentioned before, am a part of this statistic for sure of being a divorcee. And if I can come here and share some of my stories, if I could come here and share some of my experiences, if I can come here and share with what has worked for me going forward to help you not go down the road that I went down, then guess what? I'm winning, you winning, we are winning. Our community is winning. The next generation and generations that are watching us, specifically you, we are all winning and passing down those good things, the things that we know that work in relationships. So our children and their children and their children can actually show up in a different way that we didn't get accustomed to. And so sometimes we, the founders per se, have to go through the thing in order to protect your sibling, in order to protect your seed, in order to protect your child or children from going through the exact same thing. So this is one of the things that we really have to hone in on. How emotionally available are you when you're thinking about dating? Let's be real. Over 40, 9 times out of 10, each and every one of us has dated. Not only have we dated, now we're bringing all of this junk to the table, all of this baggage to the table. Re-entering the dating scene after 40 can be both exciting and daunting. Many Black women at this stage carry a wealth of life experiences, including previous relationships, careers, or caregiving roles, because now our parents are getting older and we're starting to have to step into that role of caretaker. Evaluating your emotional availability is crucial because unresolved emotions such as lingering pain from your past relationships, fears of vulnerability, or unmet personal needs, all of those things can hinder genuine connections. So, by understanding where you stand emotionally, you can ensure that you are ready to give and receive love, which are the foundations for healthier and more fulfilling relationships. You have to know where you stand in your own emotional availability. So now, for those of you out there who like to take notes, this may be the time that you are taking notes. If you are driving, right, and listening to this, that is all good, but maybe it's time to pull over so you can take some notes. Either you have your journal in the car, or your pen and paper, and or your smartphone. You can take notes in that. I personally like to take notes when I am watching something educational, something that I want to take from it. I like to use my pen and paper because something about me writing, I remember it a lot better than me typing it in my phone. I digress. If you are ready and you are a note taker, it is now time for you to get your pen and paper. Now we're going to talk about what emotional availability actually looks like. An emotionally available woman is open to exploring love, She is honest about her needs and her feelings, and she is prepared to embrace both the joys and the challenges of dating. Let me say that again. She is ready and willing and knowing that there are going to be some joys in dating as well as some challenges with dating, specifically being 40 plus, bringing these all of your background and some baggage, let's be real, to the table. And so this is why you have to really evaluate where you're at before you start dating again, because maybe you never taken the time to sit with you, ask yourself some tough questions. And if you don't know what those tough questions may be, maybe it's time for you to work with a coach. Shameless plug. I am a coach. I help Black women over 40 to show up differently in all of their relationships using tailored strategies so that you can create a thriving relationship or relationships. Now, when I say relationships, I'm not talking about all of these multiple romantic relationships. Relationships is plural because I help you not only in your romantic relationship, I help you with the relationship with you. This is the second most important relationship under God, in my opinion. The relationship with yourself is of the utmost importance, because if you don't have this relationship together, it does not matter when you try to get into and or build a sustainable relationship, romantic relationship, that is, it is going to fall at some point because you are not together with you. You lack the confidence that you need in order to be in a relationship. You don't know how to be alone by yourself. You don't accept rejection really easy. You are very confrontational. So all of these things, you need to work on all of these things. Again, being emotionally available is important. And let's be real. You need to be able to recognize if he is emotionally available to you. Now, we're going to talk about some of the flags, the red flags later on. But today, I want to solely focus on you being emotionally available. And just think about and remember, when you are going out on these dates, pay attention to when you start to ask deeper questions, because you don't want to keep the entire date superficial, where there's no depth. And when you walk away, you basically feel like, why did I even waste my time? You're going out there to get and give an evaluation without being so, let me pull out my checklist. No, that's not what we're doing. But you do want to be aware of what you're looking for. You want to be able to ask some deeper questions about his core values, be able to explain your core values, asking, well, how do you feel about relationships? What does marriage, are you into marriage or not? Being able to ask these deeper questions so you don't waste a lot of your pretty and time. Because again, we're in 2025 and we're not wasting our pretty on just anybody. We want to give the time, energy, and effort to the people that deserve it. Everybody in your life, including your significant other. This is going to be one of the most important choices that you make in your life. I didn't realize this. I did not know this. And so I want to pass this information on to you. This is one of the most important relationships that you will be a part of. So choosing and being chosen by the right person is going to make all of the difference. So now let's get back to the subject at hand, how emotionally available you are. And let's talk about what emotional availability looks like. So one of the things, and we've heard this a million times, but I'm not going to spend too much time here, but you need to hear is, how are you with your communication? Are you willing to communicate openly without the fear of being rejected? We can talk a good game, but when it's time for you to open up and really share your true feelings, your fears, and just really show up as yourself and communicate, you know what, I'm just not really feeling this because ABCD happened and now X, Y, and Z. No, that's very simple, but think about the way that you communicate. Do you clam up? Do you shy away? Do you avoid eye contact, avoid the conversation, avoid actually saying what they really need to hear versus, I might lose them if I say that. You got the woman up. 2025, we are womaning up. We're not allowing the same thing that we allowed in 2024 and previous years where we were not satisfied in our relationship and the partners that we chose. Re-entering the dating stage, you want to go in smarter. You want to go in wiser. But you have to check yourself. You got to look in your own mirror and say, you know what? I wasn't the best communicator. I actually avoided a lot of the tough conversations. I actually shut down. I gave the silent treatment. I was not the best in my previous relationships. And so, how am I going to change that now? You got some decisions to make. Emotional availability looks like the ability to set and maintain healthy boundaries. I talk about boundaries a lot, so I'm not going to spend too much time here, but you have to be able to set and enforce the boundaries that you have set, no matter what they are, no matter the consequences. Because if you want to feel like you are getting respected and stay at the top of his list and seen as the queen that he has chosen, you got to enforce the boundaries that you set. The third way, confidence in addressing your personal needs without relying on your partner to complete you. What is it that you need? Like I heard this a while and I wholeheartedly believe it, which is your partner cannot make you happy. They can add to your happiness, because happiness literally is an internal work that you have to do. It is an internal choice that you have to make, in spite of what life throws at you, in spite of what your partner throws at you, in spite of what your child or children throw at you in that day. You have to make a decision if you're going to be happy, and or are you going to say, well, you know what? I'm just really going to let life get me down. And you don't say that, but it shows up in how you show up. It shows up in your demeanor. It shows up in your attitude. It shows up in how you approach the next person and how you talk. Are you able to actually hold an intelligent conversation, even in spite of what woes life are throwing at you? Being emotionally available looks like you having comfort with being by yourself, all alone. You have to enjoy your own company and don't view dating as a way to fill a void or to escape loneliness. It is not going to help you. It's only going to hurt you. You still going to feel lonely in the relationship because you don't really like you. If you don't really like you, why would he really like you? When you're comfortable with being alone by yourself, not needing to speak, not needing to be in other people's company, this shows you're entering relationships from a place of wholeness, not dependency. You do not want to come off as the dependent partner. The next way that being emotionally available and what it actually looks like is having the ability to navigate discomfort. What does that mean? You're willing to confront awkward or difficult emotions that may arise during dating, such as your insecurities, again, the fear of being rejected. And instead of avoiding them, you lean into them. Maybe you journal. Why do I react when this thing is said to me? Why do I feel so bad when he tells me no? Listen, that was something that I had to learn. When I was interviewing a few of my exes and everything, I asked them, hey, how can we make it to the next level? And I remember this one guy in particular told me, you don't, how did he word it? When I tell you no, you don't take it. Like you're not easy with hearing no. I can't remember how he worded it, but essentially he was telling me, work on me telling you no. Me telling you no, you don't come off as the attractive woman that I want in my life. Ooh. Oh, that's the thing. Oh, so I got to work on, okay, so when people tell me no, listen, how do you deal with rejection, baby? How do you deal with rejection? And I know that a part of that was me fearing that he was going to leave or not want me, but also I was insecure about some things that I had to work through as well. Like you got to be honest with yourself. If you're not able to be honest with yourself, how you going to be honest with somebody else that you're trying to share a life with? You're not. And even if you're honest in one or two areas, there are several other areas where you are being dishonest, not only with him, but also with you. We got to do better. Lean into you being uncomfortable, because being uncomfortable today is going to help you to stay in comfort tomorrow, later on in the relationship. Y'all still trying to figure out if this is the person that you even want to see another time, let alone for a lifetime. Emotional availability looks like a healthy relationship with feedback. What does that mean? It means that you are open to hearing constructive criticism without becoming defensive or shutting down. This reflects emotional maturity and the ability to grow alongside a partner. One of the reasons why I got a divorce was for this very reason, the shutdown specifically. My ex would give me the silent treatment, and I had never experienced it before. I damn sure not going to experience it after, because I'm not going to say I do to somebody that shuts down, shuts me out, closes the door, and is able and comfortable enough to do that for weeks and months at a time. And I was just like, what you doing? This what we doing? So even though I didn't start it, I played into that game, because then I started doing it. All of that's unhealthy. All of that brings about distance. All of it brings about continuation of being misunderstood, not heard, not seen. You think that you're proving a point by shutting the other person out, not realizing that you are destroying the very chances of the two of you making it till death do you part if you're married, because you're trying to control the situation. It does not work with a healthy, emotionally stable person. It shows how immature you actually are, and you are willing to throw all that you have quote unquote worked for to get in order to just be right. So I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna show you. Oh no, I'm not answering this phone. I'm not having this conversation. Oh no, I'm just gonna pick up and leave. None of that brings about resolution, and you dang on show are not creating a relationship where the two of you are sticking like glue together. An emotionally available person has the willingness to apologize first. You are able to acknowledge the fact when you are wrong. You're able to apologize sincerely and make amends without letting your pride and shame get in the way. How often do you apologize? And apologize first. And apologize first plus mean it. So you're not repeating the same destructive behaviors over and over again. It's 2025. We're not living doing the same thing. We're showing up differently in 2025. We are allowing the person that we say that we want to date and get to know, who is qualified, to get to know us, to get to see us, for him to see the real you without you feeling like you have to be the super strong Black woman. You don't have to lean into that stereotype. You can show up in your feminine. You don't have to always feel like that you have to be the masculine partner in your relationship. We got to choose better. We got to show up better. You got to do your inner work. Stop thinking that this next man gonna be different, because the same you is showing up in that new relationship. All right. So now, how do you evaluate emotional availability? I'm gonna give you a couple ways to do this. One of the first things you can do is ask yourself some honest questions, which is what I was talking about. Like, am I really ready to date? Am I really ready to trust somebody else? Do I have the space for a partner in my life today? Have I forgiven others and myself for their mistakes as well as the mistakes that I made? Asking yourself some honest questions is how to evaluate if you are emotionally available. Another thing is to assess your current life balance. Again, do you have the space, the room in your life for a partner? Make sure that you have room on your schedule and in your heart for the commitment and compromise that a relationship requires. And then finally, seek support if you need it. Listen, this is something that everybody doesn't study. Everybody is not on the same wavelength. Everybody can't help you. And then let's be real, sometimes you can't help you. I heard somebody say a saying, the very thing that got you to where you are is the very thing that's going to stop you from getting to where you want to be. So now maybe you need to seek some supports and gain the accountability that you need in order to somebody to call you to the front line, call you into the fire to say, listen, no, ma'am, that's not what we're doing. You want him to respect you? Are you giving respect? Have you had a conversation with him to ask him what respect looks like? Have you shared what things you have gone through in your life? Does he know about the things that you have pushed to the side time and time again because you're afraid to address them? Have you dealt with some of that baggage that you're carrying from one relationship to the next? Mistrust. I don't trust nobody. All men cheat, putting everybody in the same box, not realizing that the people, the men that you are attracting into your life are going to be the very people that you believe exist. Now, yes, people cheat. Yes, there's mistrust and distrust. Yes, there have been things that all of us have gone through in our previous relationships. And now it's up to you to or begin a new story. Close that book. Open up another page. Let's get to another chapter. Forget the baggage. We're not bringing that into the next relationship. That seeking support, working with the coach, someone like me that can help you to recognize where you are falling short with no judgment, but this is how you get better. Maybe asking yourself the tough questions is not something that you are really good at. Okay, I can totally ask you some tough questions, right? Getting real honest with others that you don't feel comfortable with is not your strong suit. So some people don't, when I talk to my clients, sometimes they're like, I've been working with this therapist because and let me just as a caveat, I am not a therapist at all. Most of my clients have a therapist and then I am their coach. We do two different things. Coach does one thing, therapist does another. Sometimes there is some overlap, but by and large, we work on different areas of what's happening with you. Now, I'm gonna move past that. What I'm getting at though is a lot of times when they're working with their therapist, I might hear something to the effect of, I've been working with this therapist for a long time and I just don't feel like I can open up to this person. That's okay. Find another damn therapist that you can open up to. All therapists are not equal, just like all coaches are not equal. All of us don't have the same credentials, the same stories, the same experiences. We all have biases. We view things different ways. So if there is a disconnection in any of the people that you decide to work with, get rid of them. Stop wasting your time so you can get to and seek out the person that is really right for you. With that being said, if you want to work with me outside of Love Restored, again, I am a coach and I coach Black women over 40 using tailored strategies so you can create thriving relationships. If that sounds like something that you are ready for, then send me an email at Mashaun@MashaunOlaniyan.com. It should be here in the show notes or on the podcast somewhere. I love you guys, and there is nothing, I said podcast, on the radio show. I love you guys, and there is nothing that you can do about it. I'm super excited about this series. We have, I think it's like 4 more topics to talk about before you start dating again, being a woman 40 plus. Take this time and be serious about what you truly want so you can implement these things when you start dating once again. I will see you guys next week where we talk about the third part of this series.